Parshas Vayishlach Tovshin Pei Gimel B'siyata D'Shmaya. Previous two shiurim, we've been discussing the concept that when it comes to Emunah, which is a mitzvah, we have to practice it with thinking, speaking, and acting. TSA. Yeah? Thinking, speaking, and acting. And only when you do all of the above, then you have the complete mitzvah. And in the practical world, a situation comes by, a person has to concentrate to remember it from the Rebbeinu Shalom, and it's for the best, and they try to internalize that thought. It should take over the emotion, and they accept it. They thank you Hashem, I'm fine with it, I'm happy, I'm thanking you because it's the best thing, and then they verbalize it by davening, by thanking, by Bakasha has many parts where a person remembers that everything is in Hashem's hands and only Hashem could help them, and they daven Hashem they should see the toiv, and then comes the part that a person has to do the last part. He has to do what he's supposed to be doing in this world, and here's the challenge. So a person should do it, and the physical Hishtadlus that they do about the situation should be very dry. They do what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not investing their emotions to try to do it powerful. And it's so important to understand that it's not something else that a person should, besides tefillah, like we spoke. First they do tefillah, and then they invest in Hishtadlus, and then they get wild by the Hishtadlus. The niceness, the beautiful maise is when a person does something very miyushiv. I don't know if the proper proper word would be cold. It's not. It doesn't give it out right. It's called doing it b'derech eretz. It means the person is very calm while they're doing it. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that's it.
Does that apply even to a Torah project? The person starting a Mossad, the person starting a Chesed organization?
Yes, just a second. What was that word?
Composed.
Composed?
Yeah, a person is composed.
Composed means he's...
Right.
He's, what is that? He's miyushiv, and he's just doing it. Now he raised a massive question. Does that apply when someone is doing a Var Mitzvah? The answer is... yes, it's the same klolim. It doesn't change. It's just trickier. It means it gets tricky when it comes to Dvar Mitzvah, because the emotion and the machshava and the koch, the rotzen that a person has, and the slivus, that would be the word, the slivus, the passion, the slivus of the person is b'makom. It's supposed to be there. But then, when a person is really, let's say, calling up someone to ask him for help for a moisid, there's no need that you should get emotionally involved if he does or if he doesn't give. You're doing a mitzvah, you're excited, but whatever the guy answers doesn't make a difference, because you're doing it the way you're supposed to do it, with a gishmak. You have to explain the difference between gishmak and dry. It can get very tricky, but the concept is very clear. A person doesn't feel that his koiche v'otzim yodi, that means what I say is going to make a difference. That doesn't make a difference. He has a simcha that he could be mezaka a person with a mitzvah, and he's being oisik in such an important thing. I'll give an example to try to explain that. Everybody understands. Let's call it a doctor. It's going to be more simpler. When a doctor is looking at a file, of a patient's file, he's trying to give a diagnosis, he's trying to understand. Sometimes you have to make an opinion, that's why people go for a second opinion, because you have to be able to look at the nuances, So now, imagine the doctor gets emotionally involved with his gaiva, which happens a lot. That means the other said, I know better. No, that's what I meant. Imagine he gets involved. He killed it away. Now, he also can get involved emotionally with the patients that the patient has 4 children at home. He cannot and he's not allowed to take that into consideration. Right now, he's Miyushav Adas, he's supposed to be like, he's not tired, he's not overwhelmed, he's explaining it. Now, while he's conveying the information to the person, to the patient, there could be emotion, just because that's the right way how to give it over. That's the right way. He can't get too emotional because he has to hold the horses. He has to be the one that's in control in the situation. He does it sensitive, very sensitive. If he's a mensch, he does it very, very sensitive. He feels what the other person is feeling, but he's a strong man in the room. He knows, I need to do what I need to do. It's always, and this is what we want to get in this year. We want to elaborate to understand a concept. The concept is that Maise, we have to find the right words how to explain it. Maise, we mean the physical. There's the thinking, and there's the speaking, there's the acting. When we talk about acting, the person is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, is always much more shleimusdik, complete. It's the way it's supposed to be if it's done without investing your emotion in it. A person should be invested in projects, in his mind, in his seriousness, in taking achrayus, in his responsibilities. That's true. But when you're doing it, look at it. First, let's look at it observe it from the outside world. You'll see that without the chavis halvavis, if you observe it, you'll see it's done much more proper. Derech eretzdik, if it's done without emotion. That's the system of the world. We go off, we cross boundaries, and then we find ourselves the way it's not supposed to be, and when we come to Bitachon, that's where it's really harmful that we cross those boundaries. When a guy picks up the phone, it doesn't make a difference what the situation is. The proper way is, don't now start bombarding the person, not with crying, and not with emotion, not with, well, you don't know, you talk like a mensch. Doesn't that make sense? When a person is walking in the street, it's not proper to now go running like a maniac. It's not proper. No, even if it's something very important. Say that. You could do anything. You could walk a bit quicker. They train the Hatzalah members when they walk to their cars. Don't lose it. You're now half shikr if you do it without Yishuv Adas. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. When a person is speaking and they have Yishuv Adas, they could concentrate. They could in the same time try to process what they want to say, what they don't want to say, in the right tone.
The person might time it, but then the person won't take it seriously. This is benafshi.
It's a very big mistake. People think that it comes from not being serious enough. It's a very big mistake. And this is why this shir is so important. It's not a mistake. When a person is responsible about something and be'em is serious, that's when they really put thought to it, because I can't make a wrong decision. I have to be confident and comfortable with the decision I made. They know that they need to really drop everything and sit with Yishuv Adas, with a pen and paper, pros and cons. They want to discuss it with somebody else. So they heard, not only maybe they have negiyas, maybe they're saying, what?
They're not objective.
Maybe they're not objective. So they're very serious about it. They're very responsible, very focused, extremely focused. But when you come to do what you're supposed to do, you do it. Yishuv Adas, with a smile, and you do it. Now, let's take many examples from the Chochmas Chaim, all over the place, and then let's understand why, when it comes to Hishtadlus, when you're trying to fix a problem, when you're trying to make parnosa, whatever it is, it doesn't make any sense to get invested emotionally. It doesn't make sense. And then you see that the Torah is teaching us manners. It comes from the shayrish of a Adam, like in Slabotka they taught how to be a mensch. The system that the world was created, it makes sense that it's supposed to be like that. It's not like a big madrega in Bitachon, and we're trying to teach you funny things. No, we're trying Elokim Asal Adam Yoshar. Man was created to be straight, and we forgot to be moral. It's not normal. So now, a few examples. Let's take a very simple example which we have mentioned in the past. Very simple. Chinuch. when a person is overwhelmed because the child did something, and we react, it doesn't make a difference who's right and who's wrong. The message doesn't come across the same, because the parent is now upset. The parent, and we say it with a lot of emotion. There's chaos involved, there's anger involved, even if it's not 100% of anger. Sometimes it's 10%, 20% of anger. It kills the message. It causes friction. When it's done with Yeshiva Das, it's a note in the mind. I think I have to react on that. I think this child has to learn whatever it is, A, B, C, and it's a big avoid. But let's think about it. Let's observe it. Kilu, it's not us. Let's not blame ourselves. Just look at it. When a person comes a week later and tells the child by the Suda a concept, and we discuss the concept positively, and then it's also mentioned the negative part, and we see how it's not supposed to be. Everybody understands that it's much more complete, that's how it's supposed to be. It's hard to do the right thing, okay, but that's how you could move things. That's how you could do things. Even when a person wants to, there's a asifa of people, there's a meeting, there's the boss, there's employees, there's all kinds of situations. Now, if a person's banging on the table and is all upset, he could do that. But it's not the way it's supposed to be. The way it's supposed to be is by the machshava, there's allowed to be emotion. A person's allowed to be emotional, but when it's geared to the right thing, not when he's trying to do something with a passion. You don't open up a door by banging on it, by kicking it. We act the same. We try to bang and kick and try to open the thing. You stop, you look for the key, you try to find the key, and you open it. That's what you do in life. Anything that you're trying to do with Parnosa is the exact same situation. People get to the door, they start kicking. It's not a mahalach.
The Alter of Kelm, when he had to give Tochacha to Talmud, he had a special suit of clothes he had to change into.
He had to change the Alter of Kelm to a special suit of clothes to give Tochacha. To say, like that, he was able to have that Yeshiva Das. Now, it really goes deeper than that. I'll get a little bit, maybe not so comfortable in Mesholem, but when a person is eating, manners in eating. Now, there's taste, there's emotion, but it's not proper. It's not proper. Think about it. No, it's important to put everything on the table, because then we could see it from different types of different angles. The person is eating, they're not supposed to show emotion. It's not the right thing. You could thank, you could say it was delicious afterwards, whatever. But if a person gets all the way into it, that's not the way it was meant to be. If you think about it, that people are so low, and in today's world they're not embarrassed. Okay, it's sad, but while we're not eating, we could think about it, try to remember the way it's supposed to be, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, it goes even further, and this is what some people don't chap when it comes to phones and all that. It's something that a lot of people don't pick up on when they think about these devices. But it's a sensitive nakuda, a person that still has some sensitivity, plus koyach hasbora, we can bring out something that people don't understand, people don't chap. It's not proper in public to get very emotionally involved in anything. Not because it's not proper, the goyish properness, No. The Torah, when you're in public, you akaponim gashmi is the thing. When you in ruchni, it's when you're davening and when you're learning, that's fine. Emotionally involved when a person is davening, because that's the tachas of avodas Hashem. You're saying that there's God in the world, and you're supposed to be able to do that. But while you're doing your private, you're eating. But even if it's, let's say, getting super excited over a piece of news, doesn't make a difference. When a person is now showing how they're exposing themselves, that's what they're doing. Only by showing their emotions, they're exposing themselves, what they go crazy about, what gets them excited. That could be done in private. That's done in private. When a person wants to be megala asoid, let's say a secret, It doesn't make sense that a person should tap a guy on the bus and say, I just wanted to tell you my life story and get into detail. It doesn't make sense. The person feels uncomfortable. What's wrong? What's wrong is that it's not proper that a person should expose themselves there and only in where it's supposed to be. In a mahalach, there's boundaries. You went out of the boundaries. There's a shusayach, there's shusarabim. There are things that you do in private, there's things that you do in public. It's not the same. Anything that has to do with your inside, what's going on inside, it's not proper to do it in public. It's the same concept. It's the same concept. That means the physical, that means acting. You're not supposed to be showing everything that's going on. When you're doing, here, a person comes to the bank, they're not supposed to be on the phone. Everybody understand, don't scream at somebody else in public. Don't, it doesn't make any sense. Now, back to our shir. We're not trying to now talk about phones. It's just understanding the concept. When a person is getting on the phone very upset and said, I told you to do it. How many times do I have to tell you to do it? No, that was wrong. It was wrong in the mahalach of the system of the world. Because anything to do with trying to move something, you're trying to get something going, the emotion and the rotzain of the person, all of that is between you and God. Between you and the Rebbeinu Shalom. Nothing else. Nobody's business. You could give out that emotion that you give in Torah, in Tefillah, in Tehillim, and that. Then when you go down, you close the Tehillim, you close, and you do what you need to do. You do what you need to do. Let's say you act like a robot a little bit, sensitive. What Pshat is, you're not now gullible. You're not now showing that you're relying on that person. No. It's wrong. It wasn't meant ever. Speech, verbal. It's like people that they abuse verbally because they were given the koyach of speech, so they're now using it to abuse. It's the same concept. You were given the koyach to do things. You were given the koyach to check up on someone and say, I just wanted to know, did you do it? You didn't do it yet? You're given the koyach, but don't abuse. Abuse means, because I could use that, so I could now say, I told you 100 times, and I'm devastated. You can't get me an earlier appointment, you sure? And they call every Oscar in the world. And stop it. You were never meant to do that. Anything that has to do with acting is you do what you need to do, and you go back into your nest, and you talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom constantly. But you feel so emotionally overwhelmed. That's fine. But not in the physical. Not there. Don't now use it in the wrong place. It's like blaming the wrong person. Same concept.
Put that into tefillah.
Yes. A person should put it into tefillah. He could explain all his emotion. He could say, I'm devastated because I was sure it's going to happen, and I had a whole cheshbon, I have a flight on Monday, and that's no problem. You could talk to the bunch later. But once you'll be honest, and you're not gonna be embarrassed, first of all, because you only spoke to the bunch about it. He didn't now make a whole show. But besides that, then Rebbeinu Shalom, you're going to see afterwards, you're going to be embarrassed in the Rebbeinu Shalom. You're going to say, you see, it anyways made no difference. It's all the time, people, they make such a big deal about changing situations and calming the situation, that they want to do this way, the other way, and all that. And then it didn't make a difference anyways. Then they chap, it didn't make any difference. It's so important that a person should chap that. It's not proper. It doesn't make any sense. Even in the Chochmas Chaim, the word like we call it. Even when it has nothing to do with Hishtadlus and Bitachon. Hashem is trying to teach us. You don't bark up the wrong tree. You're totally investing in the wrong person. It doesn't make any sense. Don't get so invested in anything.
There's a story about the Chazon Ish, where a man came into a room where he was with his little boy, and the little boy was acting up and making a lot of noise and fuss, so the father started yelling and screaming at him. So the Chazon Ish called the man over and he said, "You've just taught your son two things. One is that his behavior is unacceptable, and two, that yelling and screaming is acceptable."
We do this all day. Yeah, when a person is yelling and screaming at a child, teaching him two things. One, his behavior is unacceptable. Second of all, that yelling and screaming is acceptable. That's what we do. Now, it doesn't make any sense. Everybody understands that it doesn't make sense. We have a yetzer. We have a yetzer hora that's trying to push us because we have such that we should do something very stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But that's why a person is supposed to invest so much in thinking and verbalizing before. Here's what helps the problem. When a person goes to the acting right away, that's when they take all the emotion, they put it into the action. But when a person stops, the first thing, don't act upon it. The same like chinuch. Don't do anything right now. Think about it as Rebbeinu Shalom and try to, all the emotions you have about the situation, okay, that's no problem. But now let's put it into Tehillim. Let's verbalize it. Let's talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom about it. When you're finished, when you're done, when you already feel, you already did Daiga B'Leivish Yisichena to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay, now you feel like, maybe I shouldn't do it. Now go do it. That's the chap. When you feel like, okay, so I already davened, and I really feel like I'm done. Now is the time to do something the way it's supposed to in the Olam HaAsiyah.
If someone wants to go into a Rebbe and he sees the Gabbai is letting this one in because he nudged him, and this one told him, and you think, why don't I put some pressure? I'll go in. Why am I sitting here like a tato?
Well, there's a famous story from the Tosha Rebbe about it. With that the person was very, very upset that the Gabbai was letting in other people before him. The Tosha Rebbe himself told him, but the Tosha Rebbe had to take in guys before him to take a ton of money of them to be able to give to this Ani. So he had to push them in beforehand, so he should have money to give him. And that's what Hashem does all the time. But it's the same always about cutting a line. You see people cutting a line, and you get all emotionally involved in it. It doesn't make any sense and whatever. And excuse me, I've still interesting things. Those people that are screaming always, you can't, excuse me, there's a line here. Those people that get very involved in that, they cut the line. Watch it. It's fascinating. They're the ones, they're not, the yashas is not what's koching in them. I've seen it within the same 5 minutes. There was 2 lines. One of it was screaming, excuse me, there's a line here. But then they just got the way through. Because it's not the line. It's the exact same thing. Watch it. It doesn't have to do, you could call it manners, but if you call it manners, then call everything manners, because it's the same thing. It's the urge to change things, to control the situation, and it's the koichi oitzim yodi that goes into the acting. It means, I want to control what I'm doing, what I'm acting on. You can't control it. You could talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and then you're like a robot. You do what you're supposed to do. Robot doesn't mean it's without emotion, it's without being sensitive. Robot means you're not in charge. You're not in control when you're doing it. You do what you're supposed to do. The man just sent me a message, beautiful. He said he has a child that is special needs child, and in Eretz Yisrael, they give Bituach Lomi money, special help. It goes into the bank every month because special needs child. Okay, everything is 100%. It's be'emes. The child needs a lot of help, and it came an X amount of money every month into the account. Now, for some odd reason, one day they decided that they're sending only half, because it's called, there's 50% nechut and 100% nechut, handicapped. I mean, how much percent is this child handicapped? So this child, one nice day, they decided to give him 50% of what he used to get, because they decided the child is more capable. From now on, he only getting 50%. He was disappointed. He was devastated. It's a monthly income that comes in just like that. It took him time until he was thinking about what he should do. And then he decided he's going to try the Mahalach of the Choyv Salvos. Now listen carefully. He decided, Hashem did it. There's nothing to do with them. Not the Medina, it's not Zionis, and it's not anything, it's the Rebbeinu Shalom. 1. Number 2, he didn't talk to the Rebbeinu Shalom about it. But he invested in thinking, he investing in speech, in tefillah and all that. And afterwards, Here comes the catch. He decided, okay, I'm going to do a dry act. I'm going to do something. I'm going to act upon it. He went to his doctor. He told the doctor, this is what happened. You know the child. I just wanted to know if you're interested in writing a letter to Bitachon Leumi to tell them, is there anything? He just told the doctor the way it is. He didn't try to push. He didn't try to... And again, we're talking about something that's 100% accurate. There's no games here. Nothing. He knows all that. Been there. Now he's not in that life. The child is not capable. He's no. It's supposed to be the child's supposed to get it. He says the doctor sat down and wrote, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 pages, detailed letter to the Bitachon Leumi. He never told the doctor to do that. He came to the doctor, he told the doctor this is what happened, he walked out. He says, I know this doctor for years. Never happened. The doctor went detailed. After all that, he sent it to Bitachon Leumi. The Bitachon Leumi accepted it, but in the end, it means they said, okay, we accept it. Now, I think it happened today or yesterday, he sees in his bank account 36,000 shekel from Bitachon Leumi. He's married, go for child soon. 36,000 shekel. Bitachon Leumi figured it's a mistake, I'm going to return it. He checks it out, he says, no, it's not a mistake. Because of the information that the doctor wrote, and the doctor didn't make the information he wrote, you deserve 232%, and it's going 4 months retroactive. It's all yours, and from now on you're getting that amount. He was shocked. Now this is zero investing emotionally in the pool that he did. Zero. That's how it works, and it's time and again. It's time and again. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be the moifest type of end of a story, but it always is going to be the maximum that could happen is with a asiyah that's dry. The maximum. A person is putting in emotion, you just killed it. When a person is trying to bring his resume or something, and imagine they would put in whatever they know how to do, they write super extra with smiley faces. Shkoyach, next. It doesn't you don't do that. Let me hear the information. You have worked here, you're capable of doing this. It doesn't, the more when people put in the asiyah that they do, they add that they're trying to convince, that's where they lose it, because they ruined it. It's not a complete asiyah. A complete asiyah is something that's connected to the Rebbein. It's connected to the whatever you invested in your emunah and in your tefillah.
In the Rambam by Milchama, that can explain. It says, don't think about your children, don't think about your family. This is what you have to do.
Do we have to do? That's what they tell the soldiers. While you're doing the Milchama, now you're not supposed to get involved. You davened. You now is the asiyah. You do the asiyah, not this way, not the other way. You can't skip the asiyah. That's the shleimus of asiyah. You look a proper person in shul with his family. That's how they look. They're miyushiv. They think about something. They daven about it. Something they cry about it. And when they're with the tilim, then they wipe off the tears and they do what they're supposed to do. It comes out so much more complete. That's how it's supposed to be. There's a story, it's going around, very not accurate, but it's going around now, a fascinating story from Ingeman. I just spoke to him yesterday for a very, very long time in London. He worked on his Amunah Bitachon for a very long time. Bembis is horving on his Amunah Bitachon. He progressed, this guy did, not shaykh. And some family members were challenging him that since he started with Emunah Bitachon, he's having more nisyonos. Famous question that people have, because you're learning Emunah Bitachon, so Hashem is testing you, and he took it ba'ahava, the situation and what he was being challenged, that other people were questioning, and he was going with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, he had a court case for the last 8 years, and he was with a Amun Bitachon. Amun Bitachon, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to help. I don't know how. I don't know in which direction. I don't know. Labor is going to help. And just 2 weeks ago, it was Friday, Parshas Chayei Sarah, and that was when they had to give the guilty, and they gave a guilty verdict. They didn't sentence him yet. What? But a guilty verdict, and happens to be. When it came in the message, I was sitting next to his very good friend, and his very good friend didn't understand because it came in the message, "Thank you Hashem, guilty!" Exclamation mark. And he didn't chop it till he chopped. Now he was sure, he was planning to make a kiddush that Shabbos. He was hoping to Rebbeinu Shalom that, and he really planned, and then on Friday came that it's guilty. Guilty meant that he's going to have to sit. And but Baruch Hashem, he had a beautiful Shabbos that Shabbos. He had a beautiful Shabbos. It was a turmoil of emotions, but he was in touch with the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he thanked the Rebbeinu Shalom, he davened to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Now last week, that was Monday, last week Monday, exactly a week ago, Monday Parshas Vayetze was the actual sentence, and the prosecutor wanted 4 years. In the end, the judge gave 21 months. Now, the way it works is, white collar, it goes off half right away. So, it meant 10.5 months. And for good behavior, it's 2/3 of that. It was about 6 months. 6 plus, a drop more than 6 months. Now, it's immediately. It means he gets off the stage. He got off the stage with a smile. It's fine. Take away everything, his family, it's it. Off the stage, in. Like that it went. And he told, I spoke to him, he was chazering, this is what Rebbeinu Shalom wants. He came in, first night he was in the police station, because until you get to the prison, when he came into the prison, there's a whole system. You talk, there's all offices, they help you set up, and if you need everything for religion and health, there's a whole system. Now, they told him the day you're leaving is the first day Shavuos, is that day. He said, is there anything to do 1 day earlier? He said, no, it's a computer, it's Hishtadlus. So he understood it means after Shavuos, because you can't go on Shavuos. Now he got, this is it, and this is, Baruch Hashem, listen, it could have been worse. 6 months, very, very, very not comfortable, not batamed, but it's Hashem. And then there was a help. Now, there's so much to say about it. It's fascinating. Everything that was going on there. He made himself a Seder Yoyim with davening and learning and all that. And thanking the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is what you gave me. This is it. There's no, because even if you appeal, you can't appeal. It wasn't a gay. It's 6 months. There's nothing to work with. These 6 months I'm being here, it's done, and he's sitting in the jail. He was there with, not to get into the other guy in the room, the whole thing. Now, listen to this. There's so many parts. It's two different stories. But first, we'll get to this part of the story. Wednesday night, he met a Muslim. I'm saying this firsthand. I heard a few hours ago from the person himself. There's a Muslim that was a young Muslim that was in there in the cell, and they're talking to schmoozing. Now, Thursday morning, last week, now it's Monday, this Thursday, the Muslim tells him that he's supposed to be here for 8 months. 4 months for one Aveda, and another 4 months for a different thing that he did. Now, he had counted all the time that it should be concurrent. That means that at the same time, you could have both. But then they told him, no, you're sitting another 4 months. He was so devastated. So he tells him, I decided that I'm not davening. This Chetzois, when Wednesday night, that's it. He's mad at God. Nothing doing. Thursday morning he got up. He was machazik himself. The Muslim was telling him. Now, Muslim davened to the Rebbeinu Shalom, right? They don't have avodah zarah. He davened. He went into the office, and he goes into the office. They talk again and again. He comes out of the office wild. He says, they told me I'm free. Tomorrow, Friday, I'm leaving. My prayers worked. He tells the singer man, my prayers worked. And I'm leaving tomorrow. He said, and the singer man heard it. He went into his cell. Thursday night he davened Ma'ariv. And his davened Ma'ariv, he's crying by Ma'ariv to the Rebbeinu Shalom. He says, Asay l'man shemecha. He's saying, this guy says his prayers worked. He didn't want to get himself into emotional because he knew this is the Metzias. But make us all zayin HaKiddush Hashem. Now, Thursday night after Ma'ariv is very early these days, especially in London. You're talking about night very early. Thursday night, the Askonim came to bring him all the food for Shabbos. They bought him everything they need for Shabbos, mamash barachova, and they came to tell him there's a massive update. What's the update? That the judge just called a lawyer. The lawyer had a flight back to Miami. He was there for a month for this trial, and he says the judge called the lawyer. There's a hearing tomorrow. Friday morning there's a hearing. He says, what happened? We're done. We had these months going on, hearing again and again. Now I'm here. So the lawyer said, I need to be here because I have a flight back to Miami. He said, well, it's going to be for the good. Just make sure this guy, the prisoner, comes in. It's going to be for the good. It's going to be for his taiva. Now, these Askonim didn't know what he's going to say, but they figured he's making come all the way to court. It's traveling an hour by bus. And he's coming and he's saying it for the good. Something's going on. So they came into him and they told him, this is a massive, massive update and you might be home for Shabbos. I don't know what he's planning, but I don't believe he's going to make it from 6 months to 3 months. He's going to make this whole now a new hearing. Kids, 6 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning. At night already it was hard to sleep. Whatever, you could sleep there. Friday morning, 6 o'clock, they wake up all the people that are going to the... It's a huge place. 1,700 people there. So this boss is going to this court, to that. So they wake them up 6 o'clock, 6:30. There you go. 6:30, he's marching out with his bags. And he sees down the hall this Muslim. And he sees him packing the bags. So the Muslim asks him, where are you going? He says, well, God listened to my prayers too. I'm going home for Shabbos. He says the Muslim got so excited, he started screaming in the whole. They heard it, it's a huge place. There's one God. He listened. He was so overwhelmed. Now the end of the story was, this guy went to court Friday morning. The judge walks in, dry. Everything is very official, very whatever. Says there's a law. He read which this is, which seif. That a judge is allowed to retract. He's allowed to take back his psak within 56 days. Within whatever. I want to reconsider what I said. I decided. He said, not a shazach. And he said, because the prisons are full. That's what he said. And I want to, and he had COVID. The patient, the prisoner had COVID. Okay, so you're done. He says instead you can have 4 months house arrest at night from 9 to 6. And the big choyma is that if later you can do something, then it's going to be worse. But it's it to go home for Shabbos. Now, this never happened. It doesn't happen. A judge doesn't call back. It does never. This guy never heard such a thing. This is what happened. No, it's plain Amunah Bitachon. This Singaman, whoever knew how much the Singaman went, that people, it's such an open story from Amunah Bitachon. He had a fight with his surroundings about his Amunah Bitachon. He had a fight with his surroundings. He was holding Amunah Bitachon, simple. And every zach, he went through other things as well. David geholfen. And he was like to be Mekadosh Shemayim. He ended up making a kiddush this Shabbos, a huge kiddush. Not about the food from the kiddush, because he came home after his man. We're talking about people that came from everybody came to ask him for a bracha. People couldn't believe. I want to see, how could it be such a thing happened? He's home for Shabbos. He didn't miss one Shabbos at home. How did such a thing happen? Now, another point of the story, fascinating point of the story. When he was sitting Friday After they already told me you're going for Shabbos, they said Beseder, but now we have to email. You know how it goes. And the court, I said, it was getting later and later. Shabbos is so early. In England now, Shabbos is 3:45. Is Shabbos 3:40, and he had to travel home. He said, if it's not going to come, I'm not gonna get home for Shabbos. I'm sleeping over here, right here. He told him, listen, you're wasting your time, man. It could take 2-3 hours. That's how it goes. He stopped whatever he was doing. He was thinking to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Same way she took me out, did this, nothing to do with them. He davened to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And I think he did the act. He told me. He went over, and he told him a piece of information, and he went back to his seat. It's fine. Within a few minutes it was done. Within 5 minutes they came, they gave him the paper, fartik. He found himself at home. Now, it's be'emes fascinating because there's only one mahalach that works in this world. There's only one mahalach. You have to constantly chazer and chazer again and again. And it's a massive fight within the person. Massive fight to invest yourself in asiyah. Or not to do. No, you have to do. But I'm doing it because I'm being mekayim, I'm being mashlim, I'm finishing whatever I did to do the asiyah. Like a yid does it. And then you do it with the mind of the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's really al pi soy. That's the real mahalach of being mala. The other asiyah. You do something elevating the asiyah. You're doing asiyah, but you're not getting dragged down. You're dragging that up. That's the tachas. You should do these things remembering of the Rebbeinu Shalom. This a very moedig word from the Tzaddik Rebbe, the first Tzaddik Rebbe. He said that Rachel didn't have children, and Rachel came to Yaakov and she said, "If I don't have children, im ayin meisa anoichi," and I die. So Yaakov said, "Vayicher af Yaakov berachel." Yaakov told her, "Hasachas elakim anoichi." I'm not instead of the Rebbeinu Shalom. So the Rebbe said like this. It says in Zohar HaKodesh that Yitzchak Avinu couldn't have children, but he went onto the Akedah. His neshama switched. He got a different neshama, and because of that, he was able to have children. So Rachel told Yaakov Avinu, "Please daven for me or whatever. I should have children. If not, I have a different trick that I could do. I could decide to do Meisa Onoichi. I could do like Akedas Yitzchak. I'm going to kill myself for the Rebbeinu Shalom. And it'll happen to me too. I'll change my neshama. I'll be able to have children." So Yaakov got upset at her. Hasachas Elakim Onoichi, he meant to say, that's just how the Ger Rebbe says. He says, you think that it's a trick? He did that. So now what we need to do is, you have to copy that. He says, because Hashem told him to go into the Akedah. That was his nisoyan, and if he was able to be successful in his nisoyan and overcome the challenge, that's when you get a Yeshua. But now you could try to copy that. You have a different nisoyan. It never works. People they say, "Oh, so he had a moifus? Fascinating. So now what do you have to do? It's that keva, it's that zgula, it's 40 times." They try to copy. It doesn't work. These things. It's not Arishkeit. Even when Avraham Avinu was fascinating. Avraham Avinu was promised kids by the Rebbeinu Shalom. It's promised kids. So the Avraham Avinu, the Orchaim HaKadosh says, the Rebbeinu Shalom had to make that it should be Yamaspal Vat Chavei Vutzor Chlois Dov Hunen Atchila. He need to do it. Even the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't want to take Moifsim Stam. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, yeah, you deserve it, but now you got to go through the process. The story from the single man, he went through. The story is the process that he went through. He went through an unbelievable. Whoever goes through the process they have to go through is zeichet to giluyim, open things. But we have to do it. Whoever does it. Now this is lifelong. We need to work on it, and Baruch Niyas as well. A person is sitting and learning. They don't know what's going to happen, but they daven, they should be matzliach. They do what they're supposed to, but the chidushim the Rebbeinu Shalom sends, the hatzlocha the Rebbeinu Shalom sends, they understand what they need to do, they daven for it, and they do. But they can't make it. People are trying to make a chiddush. They try to explain, they try to make a chiddush. It doesn't work. These things, in everything it is like that. That's the system of the world. We need to daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom to be matzliach. But we need to again and again internalize these yisoides to be able to act upon it, and then people see open Yeshuas.